You made it to the Go Commando Show with Fred Galvin. On our new mission, we contend with the naked truths of health, leadership, and overcoming adversity. Now it's time to Go Commando.
I'm here with Dr. Chad Welter, and we are at his chiropractic office here in Kansas. We want to talk about exactly what he does, as well as what led him to become a chiropractor, what motivated him to seek this profession, as well as it's now become a family practice.
Sure.
He's led his brother into the chiropractic field. So what led you to desire to practice chiropractic?
So the way I got into it is I played a lot of sports when I was younger, from football, basketball, track, golf, baseball, even bull riding for a little while. And I had hurt my shoulder once playing football to where I couldn't throw a football. And so my doctor told me to, just take some painkillers that should eventually go away. So I was taking some painkillers, and stomach started hurting. And so I saw a chiropractor, and my shoulder just had to be slightly dislocated. He put it back into place. I had no pain, was able to throw a football again and get back to playing, and I thought that was pretty neat. And then I'd also watched my dad, he had some bulging discs at one point and had some pain down his legs, and saw how much a chiropractor helped him. So I knew I wanted to get my doctorate, and it just felt like chiropractic was the route for me to help people.
So starting high school sports.
Yeah.
That's where the genesis became.
That was where it started, yeah.
And then what led your brother to also follow in your footsteps?
My brother actually, it was a funny story. I was in chiropractic school, and he was on his way to go to PT school, but he had decided that we were wakeboarding one day, and he was pretty good, so he did a flip and landed on top of the wake and hurt his knee really bad to where he couldn't walk for a few weeks, and was contemplating, maybe I need to go get checked out to possibly, have surgery, torn meniscus. And finally he let me take a look at it. His tibia was just twisted a bit, where it's putting pressure on it and caused him quite a bit of pain, and put it back into place, and he didn't have pain after that. So I thought it was pretty neat. And with chiropractic, you can do some different physical therapy type stuff, and also, if you want to, and help people that way also, so you can kind of integrate them together.
Yes.
Which was pretty neat. So yeah, he graduated a couple years ago and joined me, and got a really great practice together.
And a true family practice.
Yeah.
So I know what you're meaning, and what would you say is the percentage of your patients that they come walking in the door have never had chiropractic treatment?
We see a lot of patients that have never had it before, and because just like any type of profession, there's good and bad, to where people hear horror stories and everything like that. But there's a good amount of people that I just break everything down, what we're gonna do, how I can help, and just make sure that they feel comfortable with me and confident in my ability, and
Yes.
It's really knowledge for the patient, so that they understand everything.
Yes. I know I injured my back while I was overseas in the Marine Corps, completely collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even move on my own power.
Yeah.
Had to have two of my mates carry me up, and the doc came and gave me a shot of Tortal on the butt, and just some really strong muscle relaxer.
Yeah.
And me being stupid, and we didn't have a lot of the knowledge back then as we do now, but the very next day, put the body armor back on the firing line, going through an entire close quarter battle package, and that led. Of course, I was overseas. I could not. There's no chiropractors available. So a year and a half later was the very first opportunity, once I got back to the States, to be able to be treated by a chiropractor. Instantly made a world of difference, just the very first adjustment. So I've been a believer.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this as an advertisement, because this is the God's honest truth. Chad has not laid a hand on me. I've not exchanged any money, but I am really excited. Saw what he's been able to do with the laser, heard some incredible stories, and that's so we're going to be doing some different adjustments, as I've had some herniated discs from my neck down to my lower back, and we're going to see exactly how that works.
For sure.
Okay, so Chad, tell me about the history of chiropractic.
Okay. So chiropractic has been around for quite some time. A guy named D.D. Palmer was the one that just did like basically the first adjustment on a guy that he had trouble hearing, and was actually deaf, and top vertebrae did an adjustment and to where like the guy was able to hear again, and so started studying the spine more and understanding about how like your brain controls everything and it communicates with your whole body through nerves. And so say a nerve is pinched in your spine, it can cause different things, not just pain but high blood pressure, headaches, a lot of different stuff can cause other things to not function so well.
So it's those discs where the spinal cord is running right beside there. They get misaligned, they're going to start causing some nerve, which it may not be in the area that's being pinched. It could be radiating out in the arm or shoulder.
For sure, it can cause radiating pain down your hand. I've even had a patient that didn't actually have mid back pain, but she had high blood pressure and her high blood pressure meds weren't working. And so I told her, she asked me, she's like, "Do you think you can help?" And so I said, well, if this vertebrae is out of place, then pinching that nerve, then it can definitely cause that, and you might not have pain. And after we did an adjustment, her blood pressure dropped from 180 to 127.
Wow.
So it was a big difference.
So a lot of patients these days probably may have jobs that leave them sedentary, sitting at a desk, and they may not think that, hey, I wasn't a football player or a rodeo rider. I didn't injure my back, but they still could have just from sitting a lot.
For sure. I mean, just like the way your body's designed is basically it's like an S curve, so that the weight of your body is evenly distributed through each vertebrae. So if you're sitting a lot, you can have bad posture, and it can cause your head to be further forward. And we're going to see that a lot more, especially with kids texting these days, is having their head down all the time. And so it's going to, and it does, sitting at a desk and having your shoulders rolled forward will start to cause more pressure in your upper neck or lower neck, upper back area, to where it cause you more pain, can cause like shooting pain down your arms and that type of thing.
Yes. What's an example of somebody that's came in that thought that chiropractic may be able to help, but had no idea that they did have some misalignment that was manifesting somewhere else in their body?
I had a guy actually this past week. I mean, a real common one for me is headaches and migraines, to where people walk in and they've taken lots of different drugs and that type of thing, and nothing seemed to work. Especially in his case, like he'd had headaches for the last 2 years, and he said basically about every day, to where he even had a surgery to where they did nerve ablation, and that didn't seem to help. He said it helped a little bit, but not much. And he came in. I was like, well, if this vertebrae is out of place, then I believe I can definitely help you. And before even looking, I told him which one I thought it'd be, and that one was out of place, and put it back into place. And I think I've treated him 4 times, and he hasn't had headaches for about 5 days now. So doing a lot better already.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, there are some patients that I'm sure come in and you're able to take an x-ray here or review MRIs. And what are some of those areas that you think are maybe be a little bit too high risk for a patient due to wear and tear or the type of injury, or what else is going on in their bodies?
So what I like to do is this, I do different things like a chiropractic, they do the traditional, like the hands-on adjustments, that you'll see, and then I also have instruments and stuff to which for people with bulging disc and a little more high risk, I'll use instrument to put the bones back into place. That way you don't risk injuring the disc anymore. It can cause other problems. So there's lots of different techniques to be able to put the spine back in alignment.
Yes. Are there any cases that you feel are too high risk for treating a certain portion of the back?
I mean, if there's any type of break at the time, then we won't do any type of adjustment on that vertebrae. I mean, we can still work in other areas and around it, but we just avoid that one for now.
I see.
And that's something that we can also do the laser therapy over and actually speed up the recovery of any type of broken bone. What we have here is a deep tissue laser therapy machine. It's the latest one out there, and what you'll find is that basically every pro team uses this. A lot of D1 schools use this, mainly for their athletes to get them back out on the field quicker, whether it's from injuries, just certain types of pains, and even like recovering from surgeries. This will help speed up the process. It was discovered a long time ago, 30, 40 years or so. They didn't have the technology to make it a very useful treatment back then. It wasn't until the last few years that they came up with a lot stronger to where like you could treat people, like say what this one does in a couple minutes. The initial one would take about 8 hours, and nobody's going to sit here and do this for 8 hours. And what it does, it's called photobiomodulation, FDA approved. It sends these photons into your cells that interact with your cells' mitochondria, which in turn creates something called ATP and proteins, which in turn repairs damaged cells, which in turn repairs damaged tissue and bone, and gets rid of inflammation and speeds up the healing process. Some of the most common treatments that I'll have, sciatica, bulging discs, arthritis, torn rotator cuff, torn meniscus, real common. Those are the few that I've seen Olympic athletes for, seen pro athletes, pro football, baseball, and just typical weekend warriors. But then also like some chronic conditions, whether it been from sitting at work too long, those that say in the Army that had to carry a heavy backpack all the time, and a lot of strenuous stuff on their body, and just kind of took its toll over time, and able to help them out also.
What are one or two of your best success stories with the laser?
One or two of my best success stories is I have one lady that she had a 75% tear in her rotator cuff, confirmed on MRI. She didn't want to have surgery on it because she wanted to have the exact same motion that she had before in her swimming motion. And so we did the laser on it for a couple months, and was able to get her back to swimming with absolutely no pain. Towards doing like surgery, going through the rehab, it would have taken a year and a half, and she wouldn't have been able to swim for quite some time. Another one, former Royals pitcher, he had spent a lot of time sleeping in just a regular chair, because whenever he'd lay down, he'd have shooting pain down his legs for over a year, and was able to repair that disc, get rid of the inflammation, to where he didn't have pain down his legs, and was able to sleep in bed, able to go to Royals games again, have walking with no problems. I've also had a former Olympic athlete that ran for Italy, and he had a torn meniscus a month before doing an ultra marathon, which is a 100-mile race. Was able to repair the meniscus to where he ran the entire race with absolutely no pain.
So you mentioned some of the athletes that you treat. Mm-hmm. You've seen with the laser some incredible success in areas such as the shoulder and the knee. And a lot of folks think chiropractic is primarily, manipulation of the back or neck and the spine. How have you branched out with this laser into all areas of the body?
The way I've branched out is because, especially like, let's say your knees, somebody that's out running, if like your hips are out of place, if your back's misaligned, you could be putting a lot more pressure on one knee than the other. And so by using chiropractic, to put everything in balance, and then running laser therapy over any areas that are like have damage and pain, we're able to just help the body as a whole repair itself a lot quicker, and get people back to doing whatever they love in a lot shorter amount of time.
In the treatment of my neck over the years, I have had a lot of medical doctors talk to me about the high risk of chiropractic in especially an adjustment to the neck that they've told me, could a piece of bone could become lodged in the spinal cord. What type of training do you receive at a chiropractic school, especially being very sensitive around the neck?
We go through a lot of training on exactly how to treat people's necks, and also perfecting technique, and then knowing like what to look for, when to adjust, when not to adjust, when to use instruments, when to refer out, is highly taught, and just so highly taught and trained, so that we're ready for everything, and to where if there's any like risk at all, then yeah, let's use instruments or like, and that's why we have like, that's why I have an X-ray machine to check, make sure that everything seems okay for any type of adjustment, and then also like have people that I refer if we need to do MRI, but very, very safe, very careful.
Yes. When you say you refer out, what type of conditions do you refer patients out to other doctors?
It's like I'll refer out for like say if depending on like say like rotator cuff or like a knee injury like ACL, some hips, different things to which it depends on like there's some things like I can't help out with, so I have no problem telling people that and saying, hey, I think you need to go see an orthopedic surgeon, or go see this dog, go get an MRI just to make sure that something's not completely torn, or there's a lot of different things that can cause concern.
Now, what exactly are you working on with the laser to the
Right now, I'm
neck
running the laser over your neck because you do have a history of bulging disc in your neck. This will help repair the tissue in the disc, and then also get rid of the inflammation so that neck can feel better and repair itself quicker.
Good. And the adjustment that you just did on my neck, could you speak to that a little bit?
So like with your neck, like you had basically multiple vertebrae that were twisted backwards to the right, and so what I did was just press them back forward so that all the vertebrae were perfectly in line, so that way it doesn't pinch any nerves, takes less pressure off the disc, and also it'll help out with his rotation in his neck, have better movement, and even having all your vertebrae in line, and if the curvature is correct, then it'll reduce the chance of getting arthritis at a much quicker rate, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize is arthritis isn't just because you get old. Arthritis is bones that have sat out of place too long on top of one another for an extended period of time, so it just basically wore out.
So when a patient comes in and they get an adjustment from you, say in this case the neck, and then they go back home and they watch a computer, or they're staring down, or they're laying in bed to where it's their neck is bent in the wrong direction, but they're coming back to get treated from you. How long, how many sessions is the typical to make sure that their neck holds that adjustment that you're giving them?
I have a lot of people that they just come back in maybe like once I get them better, and I've had serious neck injuries, whether it be from car wrecks or from different things, to where after they're all better, like they may come in like once a month, once every 6 weeks or so, because like just with life and everything, like we do put some daily wear and tear on our bodies, and it's good to just make sure that everything's aligned. And I know some of my patients are they get a lot better at noticing when stuff is out of place, when something's just slightly off, and once they're all the way better, and so they're pretty good about judging for themselves that they need to get back in.
Can you explain a little bit about how insurance has changed over the years, where now more insurance companies are covering chiropractic, or are there some cases where that's becoming the opposite, where they're not covering chiropractic?
It's gotten better and better over the years, depending on insurance, of course, and everything. But there's some that are even noticing like success rates with, say, like bulging discs and radiating pain down the legs. Like with chiropractic, it's very good. So it's becoming more and more common that they rather pay for a chiropractor to do these treatments than to have really expensive surgery bill. And so it's pushed for more and more for patients to try something like this that's less invasive before taking that other step. All right. So you had fallen. How long ago did you fall?
It was about 10 days ago.
10
Was
days.
it Friday?
10 days ago, and we've done a handful of treatments on this, and she first was coming in really dark bruising, a lot of swelling throughout her entire knee and
Painful.
lower leg, and it's painful and it's tough to sleep, right?
Yeah, it hurt me up.
And by doing this laser therapy, we were able to help her leg recover quicker, and she was able to sleep a lot better and
The pain's
walk
gone.
without pain, yeah, which is the main thing. Just sped up the recovery of the cells to repair the damaged tissue and get rid of the inflammation that had been caused by her fall.
And I've come in 4 times.
I think so, yeah. And that's why you'll find all the pro teams using this for their athletes is, when they fall on the field or get hit in the leg, and they can recover a lot quicker. And
Okay. And how long have you been using it?
I've had this one for about a year. This is the newest one out, newest laser. But I have another laser that's been out for about 4 years, and this one's just a lot stronger. So it's a lot quicker treatments.
Do you need to have any kind of eye protection when you're using this at all?
If you're working around the face, you
Okay.
do. Yeah.
Are there any risks with this laser here?
No risks. Like, it's FDA approved. It's just works at with your cells, mitochondria. So, and it's using your own cells. It's sending energy into them to create photons and ATP and proteins, which in turn repair the damaged cells, which then repair the damaged tissue and just speed up the healing process.
And by about how much faster does this than if it was just to heal on its own?
This, as bad a her injury was to her leg, it would have been pretty painful for about a month or so, and we were able to probably 3 times quicker than what she would have.
Great.
Maybe, actually, probably even more than that, 'cause, it only took about a week or so. There you go. That's pretty good, isn't it? So basically, what I'm checking here is so basically, I was starting with his hips. It's checking to see if one is sitting higher than the other, which can cause things, like knee pain when he's walking, he's putting more pressure on one than the other. And then also just going up his back, see if there's any vertebrae twisted each direction. And then also in his mid back here, checking for vertebrae, and then also checking to see if there's any ribs out of place too, which can make it tough to breathe and cause certain things like that. Might be. So take a deep breath in and out. There we go. That's an easy one. This is one of the instruments I'll typically use just to show you guys. So this is one that basically vibrates really quick to where you don't have to do the manual adjustment, and it's very good for people that have had bulgy disc, and it's a lot less force. And how's that feel?
Feels good. Sounds like a little machine gun.
Yeah, right? There you go. All right, you're set.
Okay. All right, so Chad, talk a little bit about your client base, and you're out here in eastern Kansas.
Yeah.
You said to me once before that you have a pretty broad audience. Is there certain types of clients that are more common than others?
We do see patients all from I have babies that are patients. I see patients that are 90 years old. A lot of my patients are people that are just trying to get back to stuff that they like doing, and just depending on what age they are, what that is, whether it's a kid that's wants to get back to playing sports and has an ankle injury, knee injury, something like that. It's I have patients that want to run again, and so get them back to doing that, or people that just have headaches, people that have pain sitting at the desk all day. Older patients that just want to walk or sleep and not have pain. So we have patients from all different spectrums, but just able to help them in different ways.
Yes. You mentioned to me that there's some patients that come to you, they've been in a car accident, and they're having issues that may not particularly pertain to their spine directly.
Yeah.
As in, they didn't have blunt injury to the back, but they're having some other kind of issue, maybe an impact with the airbag, something in the knee from the collision. But those are injuries that you've had some success treating as well, correct?
For sure. Like I had a lady that she was in a car wreck to where a drunk driver had hit her and her knees had hit the dash. And when she first come in here, she had been using a walker for over a year to get anywhere. And by running laser therapy over her knees, we were able to repair damaged tissue to where she's back to walking completely fine, even exercising, and not having any difficulties. And even in patients that don't realize it at first, whether they might not have like pain right away, it's always still good to get checked out after a car wreck, because even get hit at 10 miles an hour is like 1,000 pounds of force on your body.
Wow.
So it can reshape your spine. It can cause, like say in your neck, it can cause arthritis to develop a lot quicker because there's no curvature in the neck, and cause problems later on down the road if you don't get it taken care of.
Yes. Now, post-treatment, you just adjusted my neck and my back. What do you recommend? I've heard some chiropractors mention you need sleep, water. What do you tell your patients?
Usually what I'll tell my patients, especially like after, like if you haven't been adjusted a while, or like as their first time getting adjusted, I'll say put some ice on it. If there's any soreness later, then I'll always give my patients exercises to do that can help strengthen the muscles and help hold everything better, and like help them with their posture, so that it takes less pressure off of everything.
Yes. That's something I always go back to, that since I was a child, always playing sports. You know, as younger we were, it was just, you know, neighborhood baseball, basketball, football, and wrestling. But as it started to get more organized, getting into, you know, middle school and high school, they taught us very structured, the warm up, the stretching, and then, you know, the actual sports, and then the strength training as well. And the reason I bring that up is it's so important that later on in life, for instance, when the war was, you know, in full swing and we were in the Marines, we didn't have a lot of time to do organized physical fitness the way that we had in the younger days, where in the Marines they're going to warm you up, they're going to stretch you, you're going to do some cardiovascular and some strength training, and then, you know, cool down with some stretching. But when you don't do those, you know, regimens of warming up and stretching, you typically have patients that complain that they're more prone to injury if they don't properly warm up and stretch.
That's exactly right. And it's depending on what season it is. Like say in springtime, it's very common for me to have golfers that first time they go swing a club, they just don't properly warm up, haven't done any stretching, anything like that over the winter. Go and swing that club and have some, you know, pain down their leg, some sharp back pain, and end up coming here. So that's a real common one at that time. And
so spend the time warming up before every activity.
For sure.
Now, when you first got out of chiropractic school, you mentioned to me that you worked for a chiropractic office. What led you to want to take that leap of faith as an entrepreneur and open your own office? And what were some of the thoughts and concerns about that?
So when I first got out of school, and that was a complaint that I did have when I graduated from school, is that I didn't know a whole lot about the business side of it, like practice, which is a huge part. And so I decided to go work for a chiropractor for a bit. And once I understood the business side, after a short time, I thought to myself, like, okay, I can do this. And it's a very big leap of faith, especially me coming from small town, western Kansas, to where rent for a building there is very cheap, to where here in Johnson County, stuff can be very expensive. So when I first opened up, I literally would stand in front of CVS till 10 o'clock at night handing out business cards.
That's right.
Until
hustling.
Yeah, got a handful of patients and was able to help them, and then they just kept sending people, and word of mouth got out about my practice, my brother and I, and our laser therapy, and to where now, I mean, we'll get 50 referrals from patients, and that's the best thing, and that's the best type of referrals, because it means people like what you're doing and you're helping them, and so they want to send their friends, their family, and everybody else.
Yes, I remember that transition for myself, leaving the Marine Corps, where you're getting that check every 2 weeks automatically, then to starting my own business. Even while I was, right after I transitioned, I went to business school, and getting an MBA is teaching you primarily, in most programs, how to function as a large business, big business,
Yeah.
and not necessarily on entrepreneurship. So those individuals who were entrepreneurs, I was, like a sponge soaking up everything they could tell me about expenses and top line sales and the risk and protecting yourself with insurance and legal contracts to make sure your business is set up for success. And I just didn't find that those were the topics that they were teaching in the MBA program, but there's a lot of other resources that I found locally besides just talking to a business owner, which was a great resource, but classes around the metropolitan area that really helped me understand the fundamentals of how to set up a business properly and run it and to fireproof your business so that you can be successful and you have a passion like you do, treating people and you see that. That's almost near instantaneous if somebody comes in here and their neck is bulging and they're in great pain and you can treat that, but if you're not organized or your expenses are way on the high side, you're gonna have problems accomplishing your life goals.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes I've seen people have to go backwards. People that I've worked with, they end up going back to work for others because they did not properly develop a business plan and follow it.
Yes, and that's true. Went to school with multiple people that, they would be very good doctors, and but when they came to opening up their own practice, it just didn't have that business mindset to where they struggled and things went south quick. And
yes. And now have they made that change at your chiropractic college that you attended?
Nah, not that I know of.
So what would you say to not just a chiropractor, but somebody that has the ideas, they're working for a business with the thought in their head of branching out and starting their own business in the same field or a related field? What would some of the advice you'd give them?
Really find some mentors. I was fortunate enough to know a couple mentors, guys that had their own practices for years and years, were nice enough to answer any questions I had and kind of guide me into where I was able to succeed. And that's a big thing. I feel like finding a guy like a mentorship is very important in that aspect.
One of the things I found, besides having a mentor, is some people, they just have to hustle and figure out, hey, I'm going to do this no matter what. And a lot of guys and gals that have the desire to be an entrepreneur don't, because they have too many things on the expense column. They went out ahead of time. They got a big mortgage. They got the expensive car. They got a lot of debt added up, so they really can't break out to doing something full time to where it's really worth their while. So they'll have to straddle and do that at night, and it really grinds them down. It can cause a lot of problems at home in the family.
For sure. I feel like if you are going to jump and be an entrepreneur, you really do have to give it all you've got, and you just have to tell yourself, I'm going to succeed no matter what.
Yes.
And just whether you're working weekends or whatever else. I didn't take a vacation for a long time until I decided that I felt like I was doing pretty good. So and that's what it takes.
Small town Kansas work ethic.
Exactly.
Helps you out.
Exactly.
And not a lot of expenses right up. Well, you had school.
Yeah,
school
for
bills,
sure. For sure.
That's great to hear that your business is a success and that you're treating people every day. And,
Definitely. I absolutely love what I do, and that's.
Burn at the Midnight Oil, I'll say, coming in here to interview and you see a long line of patients, that's one of the things. It's very admirable, and it's also good to know that you want to build your business to help treat as many patients as you can.
For sure.
Your long-term goal, what would you say one or two things that you're looking to do over the next 10 years?
Multiple practices. I have people drive from a long ways away just to come down here and get treated. So I like to have multiple practices, multiple areas, to where that way I can teach a younger doctor and how I practice, and they can implement some stuff too. But that way it can help more people in different places.
Well, as you mentioned, if they don't teach a lot about business at the chiropractic university, it may be a good opportunity in the future to have younger doctors come in under your wing.
For sure. And it'll be fun to help them out, just like a chiropractor before me helped me out. So.
Yes. Let's talk about one other thing. I know we had discussed some of your volunteer efforts. What led you to have that passion to help veterans and to provide medical treatment adjustments to those that aren't able to afford it?
I think just growing up in a small town, it's just a sense of community, to where when I first opened this practice, I was asking around. I was like, all right, what are all the great community type things to do, where I can get more involved? One thing I did was Rotary Club, to which we do a lot of community service. One thing I helped lead was the Corporal Woods Fireworks Show, the Star Spangled Spectacular, and I led where I set the tent where we had like 700, 900 veterans and their families, to where we fed them, gave them kind of VIP area. It's just a way to say thank you to them. That's one thing. And then like a book drive, to where like we gave away 77,000 books to kids throughout the KC Metro. That's those couple ways. And then I'm also Big Brothers Big Sisters, so hopefully I can mentor kids to grow up and get them on the right path. And
Yes.
yeah.
So some of the success stories that you've seen with some athletes, what would you say are two of the most notable success stories that you've seen of someone that really had a passion to, perform at a higher level that you were able to help treat?
One of the main, like say my patient that was on the Olympic team, Italy's Olympic team that did the ultra marathon, which is 100 miles, if not everybody knows. Like with his torn meniscus, I mean, this guy, he was 47. He'd already done 15 of them.
Wow.
Had battled through cancer and won that battle, and then had torn meniscus and wanted to keep racing. And so I was glad to be able to get his knee fixed up to where he can race again. He's still racing and
Wow.
have no knee pain during the race. And so, I mean, 100 miles is long enough. To have a torn meniscus in your knee makes it
Yes.
that much tougher.
To all my fellow grunts out there who in your youth felt it was your duty to protect us, I salute you. And thanks to the listeners of the Go Commando Show who labor on the farm, who are sweating on the construction site, putting forth your very best at the office. You are making a difference. Support the Go Commando Show in our pursuit of bringing you the highest quality professionals. Infiltrate the website at gocommandoshow.com, where you can view all of the podcasts and arm your team with incredible deals on health supplements, commando clothing, and equipment. Every time that you get a good deal, it supports the show. What deals? When you purchase anything from the website, Amazon, healthcare supplements, you're covering our six. And to the ladies on the team, when you outfit yourself in the super sexy threads from Naked Zebra, and yes, I'm talking about in fuego, you are firing the sniper shot for our commandos. How else can you support? It's simple. You smash the follow and subscribe buttons on our social media. That is how you support us bringing great guests to talk about serious subjects, not the mainstream media's fake news. So thank you, and until our next show, stay in the attack and go Commando.